The 10th lecture of discipline Ecology and the Fundamentals of Life Safety is about the protection of man and his environment from harmful and dangerous factors arising from natural, anthropogenic, and man-made activities. The current industrialization of society, the complexity of technological processes in production, the development of science and technology, all this leads to the emergence of emergencies and associated adverse phenomena. At the same time, there are natural phenomena and dangerous natural disasters of meteorological, hydrological, and geophysical origin. The collapse of buildings, the destruction of equipment and facilities, various accidents and industrial facilities are the result of human deaths and destruction of property, not only in wartime but also in peacetime as a result of natural disasters, industrial accidents, and emergencies. In this regard, the prevention of emergency measures and work aimed at their prevention are of great social and economic importance. Management and staff, as well as the general population, should be educated about the basic characteristics of natural disasters, the prevention of these disasters and their causes, people, trade, food, water. The ability of all people in modern conditions to protect the eyes and equipment is an important and necessary conditions, and only if they are armed with such knowledge, the basic forms of the national economy are a guarantee of higher preparedness in various emergencies. Wartime and peacetime emergencies include accidents, major accidents, dangerous natural phenomena, floods, environmental complex phenomena, environmental disasters, and disturbances, social, political, and national phenomena. There are special criteria for not classifying an event or phenomenon as an emergency and for a correct assessment. This Mustang and events can be classified as emergency only if they meet all the requirements at the same time according to these criteria that you can see in this table. Considering the above criteria, an emergency is an unexpected situation characterized by uncertainty and difficulty in making decisions, a complex and stressful situation for the population, leading to significant socio-environmental and economic costs, primary human costs. As a result, a rescue is a very difficult situation, which involves a large amount of material, human, and time costs for evacuation and compensation. All emergencies can be classified according to the number of features that are significantly different in nature and structurally of this phenomena. Each emergency has its own physical properties and its unique cause, the driving forces of development have their own characteristics of the impact on man and the environment. The classification structure of emergencies is based on, firstly, on depending on the type and the type of emergencies, which are the basis for emergencies of emergencies it is. It includes various natural disasters, man-made disasters, anthropogenic disasters, sociopolitical tensions. Second, depending on the scale of the event, taking into account the level of severity. Third, the rate of spread of the threat, rate of development, those that spread rapidly in a certain amount and slowly, or creeping. Fourth, depending on the complexity of the situation. Fifth, depending on the scale and level of management organization and forces and other resources involved in the eliminations and compensation of the accident. Emergencies that form the basis of emergencies are classified as follows. Characteristics that form the basis of the basic phenomena and the processes, the main things of occurrence. Next, depending on the nature of the damaging factor or the sources of danger, thermal, chemical radiation, biological, etc. Depending on the place of origin and products, depending on the main causes, design, operational, production, meteorological, geophysical, etc. Depending on the intensity of the event, depending on the scale of the impact, depending on the nature of the impact, depending on the composition and nature of the consequences of the emergency, depending on the duration and reversibility on the consequences of an emergency. For practical purposes, it is expedient to compile a general classification of emergencies by the types of emergencies that underlie them. Such a classification will be more comprehensive as it identifies the causes of phenomena that occur during emergencies and the natural phenomena that accumulate. Another important value is the scale of emergencies, their distribution, classification of areas, and forms of coverages. The general classification of emergencies of man-made, anthropogenic, and natural nature is formed mainly in accordance with practical purpose based on the nature of the underlying phenomena and process occurring and underlying emergencies and the main characteristics of systems, as well as the most important signs of their occurrence. In addition to the basic features, products, causality, and scale are widely used in the development of experimental classification. According to the classification, emergencies have their own numbering or code. Single position numbers indicated groups of emergencies, double position numbers indicated types of emergencies, and three position numbers indicated types of emergencies. Emergencies of group. Firstly, emergencies of man-made nature. Second, emergencies of natural nature. Third, environmental emergencies. Fourth, emergencies of socio-political and military-political nature. Nature types of emergencies of man-caused nature are classified as follows: traffic accidents, fire explosions, highly harmful, weeks in which there is a risk of spillage of toxic substance, highly harmful, weeks in which there is a risk of spillage of radioactive substance, high impact pests, weeks in which there is a risk of spillage of biological hazardous substance. Damage to the structures of the legs, accidents in power systems, accidents in vital utilities, accidents as industrial treatment plants, hydrodynamic accidents. Second, the types of emergencies of natural origin are classified as follows: geophysical hazards, some types landslides, carriage, erosions, or etc. Meteorological and agrometeorological hazards, marine hydrological hazards, natural fires, and infectious diseases. Third, depending on the type of environmental emergencies are classified as follows: emergencies due to change in land conditions, explosions, landslides, etc., caused by human activities, excessive concentration of heavy metals and other harmful substances in the soil, intensive soil degradation due to desertification, drought, erosion, various diseases in large areas, crisis situation associated with the depletion of non-renewable natural resources, a serious problem arising due to overcrowding of landfills for storage and burial of industrial and solid waste and pollution of the environment with waste, emergencies caused by changes in the composition and structure of the atmosphere. These include extreme changes in weather, in climate as a result of human activities, excessive concentration of harmful substances in the atmosphere, temperature inversion of the sites, acute lack of oxygen in cities, significant excess of industrial and urban noise, depletion of the ozone layer of the atmosphere, significant changes in the stability of the atmosphere, emergencies caused by changes in the state of hydrosphere, acute storage of drinking water due to the attraction or pollution of water sources, reduction or attraction of water resources necessary for provisions of technological processes and the organization of domestic water supply. Emergencies due to change in the state of the biosphere. This include extinction of certain species of animals and plants due to change in habitat, mass extinction of animals, destruction of large areas of vegetation, a sharp change in the ability of the biosphere to renew renewable resources. Fourth, socio-political tensions and national phenomena include insert and uprising in certain areas caused by rallies of national or anti-social groups, attempts to seize radio and television broadcasting sites, attempts to seize state and public institution, discharge or nuclear weapon with an explosive device damaged or undamaged, one-time missile nuclear attack from natural waters, armed attack on military garrison facilities. Indicators of the scale of the emergency include the size of the territory where the direct impact of the major factors, possible side effects or organizational and economic deviation and consequences that affect economic, social and other relationships over a long distance. In addition, this classification criteria take into account the severity of the consequences of the event, which can be significant and tragic. Therefore, when determining the category of emergency, it is necessary to determine the area of damage on its scale. The scale or primary and secondary consequences, side effects, and the severity of consequences. The severity of the consequences is assessed according to the level of resources and efforts required to eliminate and restore the event. Depending on the scale of the spread, emergencies can be classified as follows, taking into account the severity of the consequences: local, objectivity, local, regional, national, global. Local network emergency, the consequences of such emergencies, the consequences of which do not exceed a particular workplace, work area, home or room. Objectivity, or in emergency situations, does not exceed the scope and is compensated as a result of its resources and efforts. Local emergencies are common in certain residential areas, including large sites, cities, administrative districts, several districts and regions, and can be recovered by regional resources and forces. Regional emergencies occur around several regions, economic districts, or regions of the Republic, and the resources and efforts to recover from the incidents by the expense of the Republic. And national emergencies. These emergencies cover the territory of several republics and economic regions, but do not exceed the borders of the state. In order to eliminate and compensate for emergencies, it is carried out with the help of national forces and state resources, and in some cases with the help of foreign countries. Global emergencies, the consequences of which spread beyond the borders of the country to other countries. In order to compensate for the consequences of such an event, each state cleans its territory with its own efforts, and in some cases the international community comes to the rescue. Each emergency has its own speed and risk of spread. This is one of the forces and determines the intensity of events and characterize the degree of rapidity of the impact of damaging factors. Harmful protection measures are often determined by the level of risk for each event. Depending on the speed of the spread of danger, emergencies are classified as follows. Food insurance, rapidly hazardous events, hazards that spread at a certain speed, common hazards. Depending on the speed of the spread of the hazard, this classification of emergencies is largely conditional. The rate of development and the range of events can vary greatly and may exceed the limits of the next classification level. Characteristic conditions for emergencies are: firstly, presence of dangerous and harmful factors in sources. The main sources are manufacturers and enterprise using high pressure, explosive, inflammatory, chemically active, toxic, biologically active, and radioactive hazard substance and materials in the technological processes. Hydraulic devices, transport equipment and food chains, toxic and radioactive waste disposal sites, buildings and facilities built in violation of the rules, military service. Second, risk factors. The release of various energies as well as the effects of toxins, biological active and radioactive substances in quantities and doses that are harmful to human health and alert to environmental pollution. Third, exposure of the pollution, their habits, which leads to an increase in risk factors. In addition to natural disasters, there are natural and industrial factors that constantly affect any object of the economy. To ignore or sufficiently take them into account, as well as to take the necessary preventive measures, failure to do so result in irreparable damage. Causes of accidents: various natural disasters of natural causes, epidemics, epizootics, mass increase in forest and agricultural pests, external natural factors that reduce to the physical and mechanical properties of materials, structures, buildings and structures, leading to wear and corrosion of materials, design and production defects of structures and device during design service, poor quality of construction work, low quality of construction materials and structures, violation and non-compliance with safety rules during construction and industry and installation works, influence of production processes on device materials, high temperatures, vibration, various acidic and alkaline effects of vapor gases and liquid active media, mineral oils, various additives, emulsions and depressions, non-compliance with the requirements for the use of various devices and non-compliance with the necessary measures in the production processes, explosion of heating boilers, chemicals, coal dust and methane spills in mines, dust in elevators, flour in mills, crushed sugar pellets in sugar factories, was dust in woodworking plants. This lecture is over. Thank you for your attention.